A very good morning to all of you. Welcome to today's news analysis. We are doing the Indian Express papers Chandigarh edition. Now, today's newspaper starts with the world news, right? It starts with the world news. Then we have the explained section. In the explained section, there is a reference of the quash for query controversy regarding Mahua Mitra. So we'll briefly cover it. Plus, we get to know about a art form known as cubism. I would suggest to prepare a short note from art and culture point of view, which is asked in GS1. Okay. Then the next important topic is joint theater commands. So this is important. We already have a video on our channel also, so that you should refer. For prelims point of view, there is a mention of nutrient-based subsidy scheme for fertilizers and accelerated irrigation benefits program. A question on AIBP has already been asked in the prelims, like what are the components of this scheme, right? So we'll briefly cover this with the help of the website of Ministry of Jal Shakti. That's it actually. So this is the economy section, and then we have the editorial opinion section. So let us look at the world news now. Yeah. So the world news is obviously focusing on the Israel issue. So the violence is increasing, offensive of Israel on the Gaza. Okay. Now, we hear about a militant organization, Hezbollah. So Hezbollah is also anti-Israel. So their leaders are holding talks with Hamas and Islamic jihadi leaders, right? So that was news number 1. Turkey is saying that Hamas is not a terrorist outfit. So that this reflects the viewpoint of Turkey, and Turkey is a NATO country. Then the PM of Qatar, which is an Arab country, they are saying that negotiations are there for release of hostages, right? So hostages are likely to be free soon. So Qatar is doing that. Now coming to the other news, international news. Russia passes law to withdraw from ratification of nuclear test ban treaty. So when it comes to nuclear and the arms race, there are 2 treaties. So one is non-proliferation treaty, that is not countries not going into arms race and making more and more of this nuclear weapons technology. So NPT, and comprehensive test ban treaty, that after a point of time no testing will take place, because after testing only you will have weapons for war, etc. So these are these 2 treaties. So Russia is saying that they are coming out of the comprehensive test ban treaty. For this they have passed a law. Okay, so that's it. Now let me tell you, India also has not ratified NPT as well as the CTBT. And here it is mentioned, in addition to the US, so US has not ratified, China, India, Pakistan, North Korea, Israel, Iran, Egypt. So they have not ratified the comprehensive test ban treaty. So these are other countries. I feel this is something that can be asked in your pre-exam. Now coming to the explained section. So we're covering this first and then this one. So you must have heard about this Mahua Mitra case, a very famous MP from Lok Sabha. Okay. So an allegation has been made against Mahua Mitra, who belongs to the opposition, that she is raising questions in the Lok Sabha which are anti-Adani group. So she's asking questions in the Lok Sabha. She's free to ask questions, no issues with that. But she's asking questions on behalf of certain industrial groups, right? So she is receiving certain money for this. She is getting certain rewards for raising questions against a particular group. And this is unethical. Otherwise, she is right to ask questions, right to raise issues about crony capitalism, etc. But she is getting reward, and maybe some ulterior motive is there, which obviously is unethical. Okay. So some members of the BJP have raised this issue. They have gone to the speaker that see this is happening, and the speaker has directed this issue to the ethics committee. So I hope you get an understanding of the ethics committee as well. So ethics committee will now see that if wrongful action has taken place or not. They will look into the allegations. Now, what happens if the allegations are proven or not proven? Ethics committee will review this, but it cannot punish the person. It can give no punishment. It can only give its recommendations to the House, that is the Lok Sabha. And then the speaker and the concerned authority will decide. Now, this can be a case for expelling a particular MP, right? So, based on the findings, the Lok Sabha will eventually decide, not the ethics committee, but the Lok Sabha as a whole. And the issue over here would be the breach of privileges. So, the breach of privileges have taken place or not, privileges of the House as a whole. The article following this tells us about the ethics committee as a whole, which I've just told you. So here it says Lok Sabha Ethics Committee. There is an ethics committee for Rajya Sabha as well. Lok Sabha has 15 members, Rajya Sabha has 10 members. And one more thing, Mahua Mitra is saying that it is going to the ethics committee, but ethics committee is dominated by the BJP. Fine, so she is saying that how can this be objective? Now let me tell you, all committees of Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, which all parliamentary committees, their composition is defined by the seats that they have, right? So there is proportional representation. So if BJP has more seats, they will have majority in the committees. But still, we expect them to function objectively. Coming to the next article, Cubism. So Cubism is basically an art form which two main artists, so one Spanish artist, Pablo Picasso, 1881 to 1973, and French painter, Georges Braque. So these two pioneered this art form known as Cubism. Now, please have a look at this image of Pablo Picasso, which is a classic representation of Cubism. You can see here also. So this is the image of the girl with mandolin. So you can see the image and it might appear that there are some cubes coming out of the image. Right? So it's not like Picasso named this. It was actually a snide reference, a satirical sarcasm actually, by a French artist known as Henri Matisse, who said that this is reflective of cubes. So thereby the name comes Cubism. Okay. Now in the Cubism, if you notice, this is obviously on a two-dimensional fabric. This painting has been done, but the image is not two-dimensional. In fact, what the painter is doing is it is deconstructing. Like it sees the image, the painter sees it, he deconstructs it. And then he tries to showcase all possible perspectives. From all point of views, all perspectives they try to show. And it also reflects 3D art form. But it is not the sole aim of the artist that it should be 3D. It is just that it happens in that way. So the attempt is to deconstruct and showcase all possible perspectives. And it also reflects a 3D view. So now not at all will have this thing, a cube kind of image. Even these are there. So you can look at the paintings. Right? You can see here again, if you look from the left, we can look, it's not like multiple views are visible over here. So 3D kind of image can be seen. Okay. So that's it actually on Cubism. China launches new missile submarine. So it's basically a submarine which can fire missiles. Right? Simple. Now, what is so special? Nuclear missiles can fire, submarines can fire missiles. This submarine can fire cruise missiles. It has excellent stealth capabilities. Stealth means it is not visible. It is difficult to detect. Therefore, in a war-like scenario, for example, if it is having a war with the US, which has this aircraft carriers, so the submarines can easily target them. They can go undetected and they can strike them. And they are firing cruise missiles. Cruise missiles are missiles that fly low. They are difficult to detect and they can change the directions. So that is a cruise missile. This is unlike ballistic missile. Ballistic missile goes high up in the air and then comes down. Like anything, as through a stone also, that is example of a ballistic missile. Cruise missile chases the target, it flies low. Okay, name of the missile, this submarine is type 093B guided missile submarine. Guided missile means cruise missile. Okay, if you're preparing for Haryana PCS, right, then you have these schemes of the government. Elections are going to take place, so the government is trying to showcase their achievements, the works that they have done, right? So this you may refer. Now we come to the front page, actual front page. Mumbai, we heard yesterday that there is issue of pollution. The air quality index is bad. The main reason is the La Nina, which has affected the seasonal reversal of winds. That is the reason why air quality is bad. So the Mumbai civic body is taking a series of measures to control pollution. Right. Main focus is solid waste, manage that, don't burn it. Then construction activities taking place, fog it with water, sprinkle water on it, cover those sites. So those are some of the measures that are mentioned. Next, this is about Canada. We all know there are tensions between Canada and India. Today we hear that Indian side is taking some measures to dial down or to reduce the tension between the two countries. So New Delhi has taken step to restore some visa services. Some visa services. There are certain Indian origin people, Canadian citizens, so they can get visa within India. Likewise, there are certain business travelers, so they can get, and investors, they can get visa. So some services are being restored. Some. That's the main point. Law Commission meets Kovind Committee on one election, one nation, one poll, right? Simultaneous election. Law Commission is looking into it. Kovind Committee was specifically formed to look into the issue of simultaneous elections. That's it, nothing more. Contours of joint theatre commands ready. Contours means broad outline. Await government nod before tweaks. Okay. So first of all, what is a joint theatre command or unified command structure? So this is basically, we have this Air Force, Army, Navy. They work separately, they work in silos. So the joint theatre command or unified command structure means that the defense forces will be assigned according to geographical region. So particular geography, let's say a geography looking at Pakistan. Right, so geography looking at Pakistan. So all the assets, be it army, troops on the ground, and artillery guns, etc., be it fighter planes, air force, and maybe navy also, depending, right? So all of these assets come under a single general. So particular general would be having control over the assets of all the three forces simultaneously. So that is a joint command structure or unified command structure. And the entire geographical area is known as theater of war or whatever. Right, so that is the idea. Presently, if let's say there is a particular area, so army is managed by an army general, air force is by They're marshal, air marshal, right? So like that, things go. So rather than having three different generals looking at it, all these assets are under one person. So three commands are referred, one for Pakistan, one for China frontiers, and third for threat via sea. Okay, so that's the approach. We already have a video on this. I'll share it on the Telegram as well. So that will be actually in English as well as Hindi. In some other channel, it is in Hindi also. Now we come to the editorial page. Today I don't have much, only brief overview. Okay. So first article is Mumbai alarm bells. This is of course about the Mumbai pollution, and basic thing is municipal corporation is seen wanting. There are multiple omissions, shortcomings, and because of this, there are high public health cost. This is, I think, very logical. Okay. Next, balance of green power. This article is saying that the union government, that center, they have proposed a series of initiatives to move towards renewable energy, right? Be it through intended national determined contributions under the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, or be it International Solar Alliance, the Glasgow Summit, you name it. India has made commitments that they will be carbon neutral by 2070. By 2030, about half of the energy generated will be from renewable sources. It will generate about 500 gigawatt of power by 2030. And bulk of this will come from solar power. 280 gigawatt will come from solar power, 140 from wind power. Simple. Right. So we are moving towards renewable energy. About 50% should be from renewable energy. Logical thing, good thing. Okay. So the article, now comes the article. Article says, okay, fine, center has said that we will go to that renewable energy. And of course, we still would need thermal energy or coal-based power plants. They are very much required. Now, with this transition, obviously, state governments will play a very important role. State governments will play a very important role, of course. So, but the states have to be incentivized to move to renewable energy. States may prefer thermal energy as compared to renewable energy, especially those states who have not yet made efforts to move towards renewable energy. Why? The reason is, for example, coal. With the GST coming in, where most of the indirect taxes were unified and went into the it was decided under the center and the states. So the states have very limited resources for generating revenue. One major source of revenue is royalty on coal, for example, Odisha. So with how much amount of coal is generated, more coal is generated, that means the states will get more revenue. Right. But if the states move towards renewable energy, the demand for coal will come down. So therefore their revenue will come down. So royalty on coal is a problem area. So center must try to address the shortcoming of revenue if they move towards renewable energy. So the shortcoming from royalty on coal should be addressed. Second, now let's say the states are told that you move towards renewable energy. Now, if we look at the power contracts, in that case, we see that the states have to incur cost for coal power, but over and above this, it is not like coal power cost comes down and then renewable. No, over and above the coal power cost comes the cost for moving towards renewable energy. So this puts additional burden on the states. Plus, of course, transmission and integration cost. So this is an additional burden. So when these burdens are there, states will logically prefer not transitioning into renewable energies, especially those who are more into coal, dependent on coal economy. So the center should try to address these fiscal problems so that the states are incentivized to move towards renewable energy. This is mainly an issue, if you're writing an answer on this, it'll be a very short one-liner statement or a point at best. So don't bother making notes as such. Just you should have a basic idea on this subject. Next, a taxing issue. So the taxing issue is basically the Central Board of Indirect Taxes, which manages the GST, has issued number of GST notices that the companies have not paid adequate GST amount. This includes Dabur and some insurance companies, online gaming companies, etc. HDFC Life Insurance has gotten a GST notice for non-payment of 942 crores. Dabur has gotten a notice of 320 crores that you have not paid GST. Okay. So now what? Obviously, this is challenged by the respective companies. Now moving to the issue, the main issue, the issue of taxation and disputes, etc. See, government is in its rights of issuing notices. There are a number of issues of fake practices, dubious practices. For example, fake input tax credit. So this has been detected. Wrongful practices are detected. It is also detected that tax evasion takes place. That is deliberately not paying the GST. So tax evasion of more than 57,000 crores. So these wrongful practices are taking place. But at the same time, there are tax rules which are complicated. There are tax rules which are complicated. There are difficulty in compliance. And time to time, you would see that the board on indirect taxes will change rules. So this further complicates, and this leads to greater challenges and litigation. So countless cycle of tax disputes keep taking place. And this ultimately leads to loss of revenue for the government. It also leads to a poor investor confidence. There are companies that are operating, for them also it leaves a bad taste. If suppose somebody from outside wants to come, they will see, oh my God, there are so many tax disputes in this country. So might as well just export our goods to this country, not make in India. So these are certain challenges. I just want you to focus here, not here. And I would like to address one more issue. There used to be a term known as tax terrorism. Tax terrorism, that is fear of taxes and tax evasion, etc., amongst the corporates, and unreasonable demands of the tax inspectors. So that was also there. That was there in news some time back now. Okay, next article. To open the campus, push to attract foreign universities should be coupled with liberal work visa regime. Okay, so basically they are saying is that if we want foreign universities and foreign students coming to India, if we want them to come to India, study over here, etc., then we should also provide them work visa. Of course. Now you can imagine any of your friend maybe who wants to go to Canada, UK, etc. So if someone is going to study over there, naturally they want to earn accordingly also. So they should get work visa. So work visa should be provided. Now in India's case, I'm surprised actually when I was reading, there is a concern that the foreigners will take work away from Indian youth. Right, so they will take away the jobs from the Indian youth over here. So she is basically countering this opinion that they're saying that there is actually going to be a shortage of youthful population in times to come. Yes, we are witnessing a demographic dividend. A mean age is about 25, 26 years. Right, so that is there, but very soon, so from 2020 to 2050, we will see that this youthful population, the present population, will actually be elderly population, population. In fact, the burden from 2022 to 2050, the elderly population will double in the country. So this data is coming from the UN Population Fund. So we are actually going to face a shortfall of the working age population in times to come, which needs to be supported. So that's what the author is saying. Now coming to the fertilizer issue now, agriculture basically. Center approves 22,303 crores fertilizer subsidy for Rabi season. Okay, what is the Rabi cycle, by the way? October, November to April, Baisakhi time. Right, so for them, fertilizer subsidy is being talked about. Now, which fertilizer subsidy? What is the name of the scheme? The name of the scheme is Nutrient-Based Subsidy Scheme. Center approved the NBS scheme. And what is the NBS scheme? Nutrient-Based Subsidy Scheme is basically an attempt of the government that, it's not that subsidy should be merely to fertilizers, but it should be fertilizers of non-nitrogen types. That is phosphorus, potash, sulfur. So these nutrients should be encouraged. So subsidy for them is also provided. Typically, when government was giving fertilizer subsidy, the subsidy was only for nitrogen component, which is urea. The reason being that urea was domestically produced, while phosphorus, potash, etc., we were getting them mostly imported. So that was subsidy was difficult. But now the attempt is that subsidy should be given to, of course, the urea component, nitrogen, but also phosphorus, potash, and sulfur. So that is the nutrient-based subsidy scheme. So that the farmers don't over-rely on urea, but also use these nutrients in their fertilizer. So this is the NBS. Okay, when it says center approves, it is Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs. They took another decision. This is about Accelerated Irrigation Benefits Program. So there's a dam actually on across River Gola, a tributary of River Ramganga in Nainital. So they basically put this project under the Accelerated Irrigation Benefits Program. That is why it is there in the news. Now, of course, we should know more about this. So AIBP comes under Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana. It's an irrigation scheme, and all the irrigation schemes of the government comes under Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana. Sinchai means irrigation. Okay. So the Accelerated Irrigation Benefits Program basically covers major and medium irrigation projects. This was asked in the prelims. Like it includes major, medium, micro, and none of the above. That type of question was there. Okay, so this covers this component. For micro irrigation, there are other schemes. Right, per drop, more crop per drop. So that scheme is there. There's a separate component altogether. Okay, major and medium. Major means this dams and making those canals. So that will come under AIBP. And this came up in pre-fifth and fifth plan period. And it also addresses the tribal and drought-prone areas where water is not coming. So they make canal and water goes. You can see the images of this also. Okay. So that's about it. AIBP. Now we come to the economy section. First of all, let's get done with this news. GST notices worth rupees 1 lakh crore issued to online gaming. So we just did an editorial on this. So that's sufficient. Oil prices have dipped. Yesterday it was $93. It is $90 per barrel. Okay. Now moving on. Electric vehicles, they have this charging infrastructure. So now what we hear is Bureau of Indian Standards, which Bureau of Indian Standards, they have issued a set of standard actually known as this ISI 7017 2023. So they have come up with this standard for EV charging stations so that there is a uniform charging infrastructure. Otherwise, we were seeing each company has their own proprietary charging system. So there is Ola, Ether Energy for two-wheelers, right? So different companies have different ways of charging infrastructure. Now, at a time when we already have scarcity in public charging infrastructure, providing for multiple types of charger would be difficult. So unified approach is a better approach, right? It works on the principles of economies of scale. So that's the basic point over here. And this article compares, it compares it with mobile phones also, that it was complicated with mobile phones also. iPhone has a different charger, then Nokia had a different charger. Then USB came, then micro USB came. So having a single set of standards were always more convenient. For mobile phone, everybody could have their own charger, but when public charging infrastructure is required, single standard would be a more prudent approach. China is also having its own national standard known as GBT. US, the government has not announced anything, but EV manufacturers are themselves working on bringing standardization. Next is about credit growth. Okay. Yesterday also we talked about that Monetary Policy Committee. They released the minutes of their meeting. They were to discuss if the repo rate should be increased or not. So these minutes have been come into the public domain, and they have brought out the fact that credit growth, that is people borrowing, so that increase is not taking place. Now people borrow because they want to invest in new projects. People are not borrowing, that indicates that new projects are not coming up, or there is a decline in new projects coming up. So that is what the article is saying in these number of words. It's saying metals is having more of these projects coming up. So credit growth is more here, but not chemicals and food processing, etc. So it's basically an indication that new projects are not coming up, which is indicative of GDP growth getting affected, because GDP will expand when production capacity increases or new projects come up. Markets down, weak sentiments. Sensex tanks 1350 points, Nifty 421. Why? What are the reasons? So one is this 10-year US Treasury thing. The yield is about 5%. It is the highest since the recession that took place in 2008. So yesterday we discussed, right? Now, when the yield is high, we expect the foreign players to invest in the US economy directly. So outflow of capital takes place. So these are not good signs. In fact, the high yield was as indicative of a recession taking place in US itself. Likewise, the data from Eurozone, European Union, etc. So that is also not positive. Plus ECB, right? So I think this is about the England Central Bank. So they are also expected to increase their rates. So all of these factors, plus you can talk about the geopolitical tension, the Israel-Palestinian war, which is continuing beyond 14 days. So this doesn't bode well for the world, for the Indian stock markets and the world economy, of course. Cabinet approves India-Japan chip supply chain partnership. Okay. Nothing over here. Just the heading is sufficient, right? So India, Japan to work together on supply chain partnership. That's all. India is also working with the US. Plus, it tells us about some projects like AMD, etc. They want to come up and India and invest. That's all. By the way, US has a program known as Chip for Alliance, right? So they are already having it. Europe is also having it. India is also looking at having the semiconductor partnerships. And yes, we can always look at the measures taken by the government to promote semiconductor sector. So India semiconductor mission is there, then PLI scheme, etc. All of this comes under the semiconductor mission. Okay, so that's it from today's news. Thank you for streaming into our channel IASPrimers with me, Shubhashish.